Well, good morning. And if we've not met, my name's Clay. I'm the lead pastor that's here. I know we have quite a few first-time guests here today. We're glad you're here. I need to let you know that today is different. We've not had a meeting like this, I think, in 10 years. So, yeah, welcome to something that's different. We're going to have what we call a family meeting today. And every family has these from time to time. Sometimes they're intentional, sometimes they're kind of random, but I'm not talking about like, hey, let's get together and talk about our Christmas plans. It's the meeting in your family. You've probably had one where you said, hey, we all need to sit down and there's some things we need to talk about, and I need you to take your phone and I need you to put it on the table and pay attention. We've had a couple of those in the lifetime of our family. Probably the most recent one was many years ago when I was leaving the consulting practice that I was in and helped start to come here and be the pastor. And we sat all our kids down who were pretty young at the time and said, hey, here's some things are going to happen. You just need to know. I don't want you to be caught off guard. It was not terribly bad for them because we were already attending here, so it wasn't like we went to a new church. We just took on new things, which to my kids, all that mattered was there's less money. And, you know, they're like, oh, okay. But the best types of family meetings happen not because something blew up. The best family meetings happen before something blows up. The best time to talk about the problems in your marriage is before it gets to the place where it's a big problem and now you're talking about things like divorce, right? You want to talk about problems before they happen. And actually, the writer of Proverbs has something to say about this. He says, the prudent see danger. Do you know this verse? See danger and what? Take action. The fool keeps going and suffers harm. And so this meeting is about that. We're being prudent. We're seeing, hey, when we look ahead, there's some things that we need to address. So today, again, is not a normal Sunday. But what I need you to know is it's not a crisis Sunday. It's not one of those, oh my gosh, the church is closing its doors. Everybody immediately goes there. It's nothing like that. But what we need to talk about today does matter because as we look down the road, this could be a problem. So we're going to talk about three things today. We're going to talk about where we are as a church. We're going to talk about some of the things that we have been facing. And then we're going to end with an opportunity that is right in front of us. And I'm going to begin by anchoring all of this to a really old story that is very relevant to where we are as a church today. And it's in a book called Nehemiah. So if you've got your Bible app, you want to pull it up, you can kind of read through the text. It's a bit of a longer story, so we're not going to go all the way through the text. But if you don't know the story of Nehemiah, Nehemiah is a man who was part of the tribe of Israel that had been taken away in captivity. And so he's many hundreds of miles away in a Persian empire, and he hears about the wall that was around the city of Jerusalem and how it had gone into disrepair. Parts of it had fallen into rubble. The gates had been burned, and people were just freely going in and out and attacking the city. And when he heard this news, it moved him pretty deeply. So in Nehemiah chapter 1, verse 4, it says, when I heard this, I sat down and wept. Then he goes on and said, really, truly, in fact, for days I mourned, fasted, and prayed to the God of heaven. So when he got the news of what was going on, it deeply moved him. So he went and talked to the king of the empire, the Persian Empire, not a Jewish king, and said, hey, I want to be able to go back. And I want to be able to kind of look at what's going on there. So as you read further into the text, that's what he does. Takes some time to gather up the resources that he needs, and he leaves and he heads down to Jerusalem. And then he goes out at night. And he takes a couple of people with him, and he doesn't really tell them what he's doing, but he's just kind of assessing where it's at. And so he says this, he said, I hadn't told anyone about the plans God had put in my heart. And honestly, I think that is a good principle for us as leaders. You need to assess what is going on before you start talking about what you're going to do. You need to kind of take an accurate look at what it is. And the things we're going to talk about today, that is what your church leadership team, including your stewardship team, have done all summer, and in actuality, all the way back to last fall, assessing where we're at and what we are going to do. So after the assessment, then he starts building. And as they begin to reconstruct the walls, it starts to become a problem. There are people who are opposing them, and they start attacking them. And one of my favorite verses in this whole book is found in chapter 4, verse 17, because I just love this picture. It says, the laborers carried on their work with one hand supporting their load. In other words, they were building the wall with one hand and with one hand holding a weapon. And I think that's a good, accurate picture of how we go about things. It's like, okay, now we're going to build, but we are ready for anything that would advance upon us. If you know the story, it took 52 days. That's all it took to rebuild the wall. And in chapter 8, the people, when the wall is finished, they gather together and they open up the scriptures, and the scriptures are read for the first time in a very long time in the city of Jerusalem. And the people, their hearts are overwhelmed. And so many of them wept and they cried. You have to picture, these are people who haven't had a place to come and to hear the scriptures and to worship God. I think there's some similar ties to who we are as a church, because that's who we have been from the beginning, a place where people can come who haven't heard God's word, who have maybe been hurt by churches, or they have all kinds of reasons. And their first moment, many times that they have when they come into this place, is they're emotionally overwhelmed. We see people cry all of the time. So then Nehemiah, as they are doing this, he tells them, look, this is great, but now we need to celebrate. And so they begin to do a celebration, and out of the celebration, the people make a commitment. And it is a pledge, and it's found in chapter 10. And what I love about the Bible is it doesn't just state things, it gives names. And if you read the book, you'll see every single name and their family who said that this is our pledge. And I love their reason for making this pledge. We will not neglect the house of our God. They were so overwhelmed, they're like, look, this is not going to happen again. And so our family signs on to make sure that the wall stays built and it is strong. That is the rough story of Nehemiah in a really quick arc, where you assess honestly, you keep building even when it's hard, and you let joy produce real commitment. So let me begin our family meeting with an honest assessment of how we as Next Level Church got to where we are. Because some of the things that we're going to talk about, they didn't just happen last year. They've been building for a number of years, and you really deserve the whole timetable, not just the part that hits closest to home. So how we got here. And I'm going to put something on the screen that you're sick of seeing, I'm sick of seeing, I'm sick of talking about. Number one. If you're tired of hearing about COVID, I am super tired of hearing about COVID. I had to lead a church through COVID. It was miserable. I never want to do that again, ever. I'll trade, if you are a garbage man, I'll trade jobs with you if we ever have a COVID again. Come do my job. Like if you clean poop off of bathroom floors, I will trade jobs with you. That was rough. But what we experienced in going through COVID was a 30% reduction in our giving. To give actual numbers, we went from around $50,000 a month in giving to $36,000 a month over a course of months. In the beginning, it didn't hit us at once, but as we went through. And we survived going through COVID like a lot of churches did. We also have a weekday preschool, which has a full staff that we pay. And so we did pursue some of the things that the government was allowing, so we were able to keep our preschool fully funded and going. And if you know anything about our weekday preschool, it has the best reputation of a preschool in this whole area. I think we have 80 or 83 names currently on a waiting list to get into our preschool. We're really proud of what we did there. We also went in and we cut every budget line that we could cut. We sat with the stewardship team and we said, what can we cut? And we have run as lean as we possibly can. And then we reached out to our mortgage provider, and they generously said, you know what, we're going to let you go interest only, which greatly reduced the mortgage that we have, or our payments on it for the mortgage we have on this property. And they let that go for 5 years. So, 4.5 years. So we did that. And then anytime that we had a major equipment failure, we've had 1, 2, 3 HVAC units. And if you think your HVAC unit at home costs a lot of money, when it goes down, replace one of these. Like, it's massive. And we've had roofs that have needed to be replaced, like big expenses. So what we did, rather than diving into our reserves, is we took out loans. We were doing everything that we could to make sure that everything would hold until it came back, until giving came back. And obviously, it hadn't fully returned. Now, attendance has been growing steadily the last couple of years. The terrible time to be looking at it during the summer. But if you come back in the fall, you'll see that our attendance has just been going up and up and up. And that is an answer to prayer. We thank God for that. But giving has never really caught up. And then this January, our mortgage provider came in and said, hey, we need you to go back to full principal and interest payments. And, we know we need to do that, and so we did. That is what got to us where we had to do more than just budget line cuts. We had to start making staffing decisions because that was about a $10,000 a month difference in what we needed to do. So I bring up the Nehemiah thing because the one thing that we do have similar. In the story of Nehemiah, the people that took the responsibility to go rebuild the wall and gave the money for it and all these different things, they were not responsible for the wall collapsing. They weren't there when it happened. They were not responsible for it happened. But they took ownership for, we're going to let this thing be rebuilt. In a very similar way, many of you were probably not here in 2020, and nor did any of us cause what happened in 2020. At least I hope no one in this room helped cause what happened in 2020. We didn't cause it. But just like Nehemiah's generation, we're the one who is sitting here. We're the ones that look at it and go, okay, I guess we take responsibility for what's going to happen. Either we rebuild the wall fully or we just keep patching it and hoping for the best. What I will tell you as a pastor, we cannot walk into another ministry year, which begins for us in September, doing what we're doing. And I'm going to explain some of those reasons why. So that's how we got here. And, I needed to put that on the screen. Where are we actually at right now? I think this is good. There are two things that are true about our church and about Next Level Church. And you kind of have to hold both of those things in your hands. First one is this, and it is good news. Like Next Level Church is a healthy church. This is an amazing church. We are reaching people here all of the time that quite literally, and I'm going to share one of their stories at the end here, that other churches in the city just are not reaching. Maybe they're not capable of reaching the type of person. I'm not sure what it is. But we are reaching them, and that's good. Our kids ministry is doing really, really well. The percentage of kids that we have to attendance here is above what would be considered healthy and normal. So our kids ministry, that means you guys are doing great at like having babies and kids and all of that. But we're doing really well there. Our last baptism service, we had so many people that wanted to be baptized. We wound up having it one week and then carrying it over to the next week just so that we could get everybody that wanted to be baptized. People who swore they were done with church, they show up here on a regular basis. People who told themselves they would never darken the door of a church show up at this church, and their whole life, their whole paradigm for what church gets turned around, and next thing they know, they're exploring faith and walking with Jesus. If you have been here more than a few months, you have felt this. You have either had a conversation or you have overheard a conversation out in the lobby of someone talking about one of those two things. Like, I was hurt, I never thought I would go back to a church, or I thought I would never go to church, and wow, I'm here, and this is amazing. So, healthy church. We're doing great. Second thing, we're also under real financial strain. Again, not shutting down strain, not anything like that, but strain enough that if we don't deal with it now, we don't take an honest look and say, okay, we need to do something here, then it starts costing us things that is healthy. Like, we just can't keep doing what we're doing at the rate that we are doing it. The part that we kind of need to just sit with, and I have sat with this for a long time, so I get you, some of this you're hearing for the first time, and so it's kind of hard for you to sit with it, but I just want you to sit, and I don't want you to just run past. When I talked about a staff reduction, that's easy, just kind of like, oh yeah, let's just move on. That was real. It wasn't just like a budget item cut. It wasn't like, okay, we need to make less copies. It was real people and real jobs, and it was hard on the people. It was hard on the people who made the call. I had meetings over the course of 9 months that no pastor ever wants to be able to have. It costs people something. I want you to understand that. And I just say this so you know from my perspective, when I was having these meetings, I knew in this reduction that the only person left to take on the duties that they were doing was me. Like I know, in addition to everything you're doing now, you're going to do this other role. We did all of these things to keep the church standing, and it worked. I mean, it has worked. But we also need to look at where it has left us, because I think we have allowed you to believe something that isn't completely true. It's not like we told you lies. It's just when you see things and you don't talk about it, you kind of have an impression. And one of those, it would be very easy to walk away from this church, to walk away with a piece of the pastor when we put all the people and the staff, sort of walk around here and look at all the staff badges going on, to think that, man, all of these people are full-time, 40 hours a week. Man, this church is well-resourced. It's doing what it's doing. That is not the case. Every single member of our staff, including me, is what we would call co-vocational. We all have a separate job that we do, and we do it to bring in extra income. I don't say that so that you feel sorry for any of us. We love what we do, but you just need to know that that is the truth. Our entire team, except for me, is working quarter time or less. That is the amount of time they're able to put in, because they all have full-time jobs that they go and they do other things. Again, not telling you to feel sorry for anyone. We love this place, and this is why we do it. I'm just telling you because you need to kind of know who actually day-to-day runs the church. And for the most part, right now, it's me. So here's where this leaves us. The wall, if we're going to use the Nehemiah reference, is stretched thin. You ever heard the term metal on metal? That's kind of where we are at. We are understaffed. We just are, for the things that we need to be able to do. And in one area in particular, there is no staff, there is no oversight, there's nothing going on, and it's a very critical area. And that is in an area called small groups and discipleship. And that is kind of a really important area, especially in any church, but especially in a church like this, where we need to disciple people on what it means to follow Jesus. So if I tell you what that looks like from week to week, because I don't like talking in vague terms or in theory, it means that when someone new walks into our church, which we get new people all of the time here, and we're extremely grateful for that, whether that person becomes known, whether they end up in a group, whether they end up growing in their faith rather than just kind of drifting back to wherever they're at, it's going to sound a little bit harsh, but you'll get the idea of the truth. Whether or not any of those things happen is pretty much up to luck. Who they happen to bump into, who they have a conversation with in the lobby. If that person happens to be in a group, then maybe they get invited into a group. There is no one's actual job right now to develop small groups, to make sure the disciples is happening, to raise up leaders and train leaders to be able to do those things. I wish I didn't have to say that to you. But, if we're going to have an honest assessment of where the wall is, that's the honest assessment. And for us, this idea of someone coming in, we don't want it to be luck. And this is not a hypothetical thing. This is going on all the time. It's happening this week. It's happening, last month. So that is a critical critical area. We have some other areas where that is going on, and we'll get to those in just a minute. But I don't tell you any of these things to make you feel bad. That's not the point. If you're new to church, you're like, oh, okay, this is what the pastor does. This is not what I do. I just want to talk as plainly as I can so that we can understand, because you can have a vague sense that maybe everything's fine. Or some of you have had a vague sense that, oh man, everything's not fine. And both of those are not completely accurate. What's accurate is we have built a wall here that is tall enough to survive, but it isn't strong enough to do all the things that we've been called to. That's the most accurate picture that I can give us. And I believe that the wall is worth fixing because of what the Lord has laid out in front of us. So what does this actually mean? I don't want to leave abstract staffing problems. So here's what it looks like. I want you to picture that someone 4 months from now wanders into our church and they've never been part of a church before. They've got real questions. They don't even really know how to ask the questions. They don't know if they can ask the questions. They're not sure if this is a safe environment. Right now, if that person comes in, like I said, to get their questions answered, to be in a group where they're known and they get to know other people is a bit of luck. But getting that area staffed means it stops being luck. That it becomes someone's actual job to make sure that that person gets found, gets invited into a group that has a group system and group leaders that have been trained to take care of the person, that they get discipled in the basics of what it means to follow Jesus, and that this begins to make a real difference in their life. The other area that we just need to pay a big amount of attention to, these areas inside of our family ministry, one of those is student ministry. Right now, our students, and for us, students means middle school and high school students, they're being cared for by, we have an outside company that we have asked to come in and help us with that, and then there's volunteers that are over there. But getting this staff means that your middle school and your high school students has a person that is checking up on them, that is following up on them, that is showing up at their school events, that is developing a leadership pipeline so that those students can then raise up other students to be leaders, and that they grow in their faith so that when they graduate from high school, they don't graduate from church. I think that's worth an investment. Then we have parents, and the parents from kids all the way from babies all the way through high school students. You guys are raising children in a culture that is very much set against you as a parent. And it is relentless. I'm glad that my kids are, they're not old yet, but they're grown. They're not all out of the house. Still got one. She leaves next Saturday. She's got her own place. But you are trying to raise your kids in an environment that, man, it was not this way when we had our kids. And right now, what we offer from kids all the way through high school is an hour on Sunday. And we're very proud of that hour. I mean, we do great things during that time, especially over in our kids ministry. Our kids director, Grace, does a fantastic job. She pours her life into those kids. I know that she had spent time, even this week, one of our young kids experienced that her grandfather, who she lived with, was passing away and then ultimately passed away. And she was spending time just going to take care of the kid. Like, we do fantastic things inside of that department, but in reality, it's still just an hour on a Sunday. And we would love to be able to do more. Like, if we could staff it the way we want to be able to staff it, then we have someone, whether you're a high school parent or you're a parent of a preschooler, you have resources and groups and seminars and things that pour into your life where we actually do come alongside of you and help you in this culture war that is happening with you and your children. This is what it looks like to actually finish the wall. We started building the wall, but we need to finish it. And once it's finished, once it's standing, once it's stable, I need to be honest with you. I'm going to come back in October, and we're going to have another conversation. And the conversation we have in October is about, okay, where does God want to take us next? What is he calling us to? Now that we have things firmed up, where is it that we want to be able to go? So that's what getting it right means. There's an ask, and we don't do this very often, especially, I know that there are several people that are here for the first time. This is not a regular thing for us, but there is an ask, and we're going to get really practical. I'm going to try to take my time, because I actually would like you to think about the things that we're going to say here. There are two things that your church leadership is asking that I am also asking. And the first one is a one-time thing. It's just one time. This is not ongoing, but it's not a small thing. We do need a one-time injection into our budget of $30,000. When we ran the numbers, we have a $30,000 shortfall, so we've been going into our reserves. And what we need to do is we need to put all of that back before we begin a ministry season in September. Some of you have the ability to be able to do that. You have the ability to say, oh yeah, I can give some money above what I normally give, or maybe you've never given here before, and you're like, I want to be able to give some money into that. But this is what we need in order to kind of recover back what we have spent as we have gone down this year. The second one is probably, I won't say difficult, but it requires a little more of us, because the second thing we're going to ask of you is an ongoing thing that I would like you to at least consider, at least for the next 12 months. And we need an additional $10,000 a month. Basically, we need to recover the money that when we went back to doing principal and interest payments, we need to get that back so that we can go back and do these staffing things that I just told you about. That's where that money is going to go, to people that you can see, to names that you can know and have conversations with to cover the areas that we discussed. Here's how this breaks down realistically. So in our church, we have 103 giving units. I need to explain what a giving unit is. A giving unit is, sometimes it's a family and sometimes it's an individual. So if an individual gives, they're a giving unit. If, let's say, the family gives and they come together and as a family we give, that's a giving unit. So it's not unique people, it's giving units. We have 103 giving units here at Next Level. If we break that down into, if we all carried the burden equally, what this turns into is $97 a month in addition to whatever it is that we are giving. And sometimes my brain still looks at things and like, there was a point in my life where that was a whole ton of money. And then my wife had an experience last Sunday, literally last Sunday. She took 3 friends out. They went to lunch, nowhere fancy. They went to a pizza place. I won't say the pizza place. But they had pizza. I think they had some salad. They had, everybody had a beverage, and then the bill, and then you get the tip and everything. Ironically, you know what the amount was? It was this number. So in reality, what we're asking you to do is give up pizza once a month. I think we can do this. If you're a DoorDasher, that's what you paid to get McDonald's brought to your home by the time it was all said and done. No offense, we have some people that actually dash for a living. I did not mean to rain on your parade. For some of us, I understand this is going to be, I don't want to joke about it. For some of us, it really is giving up going out to eat once. For some of us, this could be a real challenge. Like, you don't want to belittle anything that is there. What I want to say is, in my head, it's a pretty reasonable number to do. Now, you might have to make some changes, but for the most of us, this isn't even sacrificial. This is giving up a few subscriptions that you forgot about that you're still being charged for. And again, I get, for some of you, it could be a little more. But what I want to say about all of it, if you're in a season where you genuinely, you just can't do any of that, hear me really clearly. That's okay. And I'm not just being polite. It's okay. I mean it. Give what you can. If you can't, like this is a season where I can't, just know you still belong here exactly the same as you did before. And if you've never given to this church, I would love for you to consider something as well. This might be the moment that God is saying, hey, maybe this is where you need to step in. Maybe this is where you start. Because there's just something about giving that changes you. I know this in my life. I've shared this before. I don't mind it being out there. My wife and I give way beyond. I think we're approaching 15% of our income we give away. And that's not a bragging thing. It's just, it does something in you. And if you've not, this could be your first step. Here's the thing. Oh, I didn't put it in here. We have almost 400 people who attend Next Level Church in any given month. Unique people. That's significantly more than you ever see on a Sunday. And just a portion of those who've never given before would choose to do this, and we can take care of this today. So, if you can do it, great. If you're in a position to give more than 97, we're not going to tell you no. Because, as I said, we're going to come back and we're going to talk in October about where we want to go. And it's much more than I'm talking to you about today. So you could help us get there, even today. So that's the opportunity that's there. On your seat when you came in, we probably fooled you a little bit. It's got name, email, phone number. If you didn't flip it over, that's a pledge card. Pick it up right now, because now you're like, oh. And it won't hurt you to pick it up, I promise. There's a digital option that's on that card too, because some of you may need to go home. You may need to have a conversation at home. We completely understand that. You can scan that QR code, and it will take you to a place where you can pledge as well. And we're probably, just by the nature of Next Level Church, we're going to have to talk about this for the next several weeks in order to make sure that everybody understands where we are going and what we need to be able to do. Here's what I want you to do with the pledge card. And it's going to sound weird and awkward. I want you to flip it back to the side that just has your name, your email, and your phone number. And this isn't, and I need you, everybody here needs to fill out the back side of the card. That's not what we're going to say. But I want everybody to fill the front side of the card out. I do. So go ahead and peer pressure, apply it. It ain't gonna cost you anything. Put your name, your email, and your phone number on a card. So if you'll just kind of do that, while you're doing that, what I will tell you is something that I need to own. And this one is on me, it's on us, it's not on you. We haven't had a budget talk like this before, out loud as a part of the Sunday morning experience in detail. And there is a real reason for that, even if I don't think it's a good enough reason anymore. But the reason is that we know that churches have earned a bad reputation to guilt and to pressure people. Very well aware of that. And we've watched that wound people. We've had people who come here to Next Level who have been wounded by that. So we built a place that felt safe for people who are carrying church hurt, for people who are brand new to faith, who have all the church ever wants is your money, that kind of thought. And I think I've said this before. Do you know who the only people, like there are several places that only want your money. You know who it is? One's Target, government, Costco, Costco wants all of my money, I believe. The church is not that. But we know that people come and they feel that way. And so we create a place that we want to be safe. And along the way, we just stopped talking about money almost entirely. And in looking back, if I'm being honest with you, it wasn't very wise. And I'm sorry for it. So we are fixing that, not by making every Sunday about the budget. Like, it will not be that. Not by turning giving into something that you perform. We're just going to make it normal and easy for you to be able to access and see what's going on around here. So going forward, we're going to have a monthly meeting. And we're going to try to set it for the same Sunday every month. So we're going to have one today. And when I say what it is, you're free to go and talk to them. So maybe we just say it's the last Sunday of every month. We'll let you know what it is. But today, after the service, is the very first one. And so you can meet with the stewardship team at a table or a set of tables. They have the full budget. You can sit, you can talk, you can have questions, you can look at it. We want to be completely transparent about all those things that were there. That's always been available. We're going to make it easier for you to be able to get to those things that are there. If you are a giver, we're going to be sending out, I can't remember if we agreed to monthly or quarterly giving reports that will also include not just your giving, but it'll have the budget that is in there as well so that you can track where those things are. And then finally, and that started this morning, so it went live in the morning. So if you go to our giving page, you go to nextlevelchurch.org/give. At the top of that give page is a breakdown. Obviously, we don't have July's numbers because you can't close out July until it's over. So we have June, and we have what the budget was, and we have what giving was, and you can see that. And we have year to date. That will always be there from this day forward. We just want it to be easy for you to see what's happening. So before we do anything further, here's when we talk about doing the two things that I've asked you, here's what we're protecting. A few months ago, I sat down with someone. I'm just going to call her name Sarah. That's not her real name. And she shared with me she hadn't set foot in a church in 15 years. And she never stopped believing in God, never stopped believing in Jesus. Just the last church that she went to, she didn't feel safe anymore. There'd been a change in her life. And because of that change, she didn't feel like she belonged anymore, and she felt like people were talking about her in the corner. And so she just stopped going. But what she shared was, and I would try to go to churches, and she said she would drive into the church parking lot and would sit in her car trying to talk herself into going in, and then would drive away. She said, if I did that one time, I did it 20 times. But someone here at Next Level went and worked with her and kept inviting her, as we say all the time, hey, come sit with me, come sit with me, come sit with me. You know, we say that. We have someone today that they're here because they said, come sit with me. So they were sitting there. And she said, they just wore me down, so I showed up. Yeah. What she shared was, she said, look, I've been coming here for several months now. No one has ever asked me to explain myself. She was able to because this person was also a part of a group thing that we were doing, was invited in, sat in the group, and no one in the group looked down on her. No one said, oh, I can't believe this. No one saw her differently. She said, I came, and for several Sundays, I just sat in the worship service and just cried, and nobody looked at me funny. I'm like, yeah. I said, I get it. I cry all the time standing on stage. It's okay. She told me this was the first church where she didn't have to feel like she needed to perform to belong. Those are her words. So, what did I call you? Sarah. I'm crying. There you go, Sarah. God has done that here. Sorry. Stories, they choke me up. The non-judgmental place that this place is, the fact that your story can be safe in a place like this, the way we have invested into the community instead of just talking about it, the raw authenticity where you I mean, you're going to get what you get with the staff and the pastors and the people that are here. The fact that someone with real church hurt can land here and begin to be healed, that is what God has done in this place. And this is what we protect. I've never in my life been a part of a church like this. Pastor Christian, who was just on stage, one of our teaching pastors that is here, he has told you multiple times. I've known him for years, and I would talk about you guys to him. And he really just thought most of what I was saying was BS. There's no way that a church exists like that. Well, now that he's here, now he knows. Pastor Joseph, who is here, has come out of an environment. He'll tell you that there is not a place that is like this. I believe it's worth protecting. I believe that the wall is worth finishing so that people like Sarah can walk through the doors, and it's not going to be based on luck. We're going to be able to take care of her and her entire family. The wall is never the point. It's what's going on inside the wall that was important to Nehemiah. And it's the work that goes, the money is not the point. We do need your money, but it's not the point. It's the work that goes on inside. So we're going to take a moment, and on the back side of that card, I'm going to give you a moment. If you came with someone, you can have a conversation. You can do each other like the spouse look, like where. But if you need to go home, we completely get it. I'm going to let Drew keep doing what Drew is doing. We're going to take, if you're watching online, we're going to take about 60 seconds or so. And what I would like for you, if you are ready, and you can do either one of those things or both of those things, so help us towards the $30,000 deficit, help us, recover or get the $10,000 a month. You're like, yeah, I'll do the $97 or something else. I want you to think about that. Talk to Jesus about it. I'm going to come back, and then I'm going to pray, and we're going to sing one more song, and then you will get out of here, and you will have survived, I promise. So if this is something you're ready to do, take a moment for that. If it's not something you're able to do, hey, I get it. You're still good here. You're still fine. So take a moment. So I'd like it if you would stand with me. And at the end of the service, if you did make a pledge and you actually wrote it down, there are boxes hanging on the walls. There's white boxes on the floor. Just drop it in there. And what we're going to do is we're just going to follow up with you. And what we're asking for is that you would begin at least the monthly contribution part of it as soon as you can, but definitely by September. But we would love it, obviously, if you would get a jump start on that in August. In September, we just want to be able to start working towards the things that we just talked about. Let's pray, and then our band is going to lead us in one last song. So Jesus, I think the thing that I have to say first and foremost is thank you for what you've built here. Thank you for the people that are in this room who are watching us online. Thank you for all of the lives that have actually changed. For the ones who walked in here not sure that they believed any of this, and then they found out that you were real, we are grateful. And we don't take a single bit of it for granted. And Jesus, the way we've tried to be honest with each other today is very hard. This kind of stuff has been heavy in ways not everyone in the room can see. God, thank you for the staff that you have given us. Thank you for the staff that were here before and all of the amazing things that they gave their lives to, that they gave 110% to. And so, God, we say what that generation said in Nehemiah's day. We will not neglect the house of our God, not out of guilt, but because we actually love what you have built here. God, keep this church what it has always been. Keep it safe for people with real church hurt, with real questions, for people who want to reach people like that. Keep it a place where someone can walk in not knowing what they believe and leave feeling that they belong anyway. Jesus, we love you. We trust you with this. We're asking you to help build this with us. In Jesus' name, amen. And let's sing one last song.